The 2025 Nissan Armada isn't just another big SUV rolling onto the market. It's arriving with changes that could shake up how we look at full-size family vehicles. From bold design tweaks to features usually reserved for luxury brands, this Armada seems determined to prove it's more than just a rugged hauler. But here's the real question. Do these upgrades finally make it a serious rival to heavyweights like the Chevy Tahoe and Ford Expedition, or is it still stuck in the shadow of its competitors? Let's break it down and find out. The Nissan Armada has always stood as one of the brand's boldest entries in the full-size SUV market. A vehicle built for families who want comfort, space, and power all in one package. Since its first appearance in the early 2000s, the Armada has carried a reputation for toughness, often doubling as both a daily family driver and a long-haul adventure companion. But in the United States, where the Chevy Tahoe and Ford Expedition dominate headlines, Nissan has always had to fight harder to grab attention. Now, with the 2025 model year, Nissan is stepping up its game. This latest Armada arrives with fresh exterior design, sharper lines, and a presence that feels more modern and upscale than ever before. Inside, Nissan promises more advanced technology, improved comfort, and safety features that aim to meet the growing expectations of today's SUV buyers. What makes this launch so significant is timing. With fuel efficiency, family practicality, and tech innovation becoming deciding factors for American buyers, the Armada has a chance to prove it can stand toe-to-toe with the segment leaders. But the real question remains, do these updates truly make the 2025 Armada smarter buy, or are the rivals still one step ahead? That's exactly what we're about to uncover. Step up to the 2025 Nissan Armada, and the first thing you'll notice is its commanding presence. The new front grille is bolder, the LED headlights are slimmer and sharper, and the overall stance feels wider and more aggressive. It's the kind of SUV that looks just as comfortable pulling into a suburban driveway as it does waiting outside a mountain cabin. The design language is clearly pushing the Armada into a more premium category, something that matters in a market where looks play as big a role as capability. Slip inside and the changes continue. The cabin is roomier, with higher quality materials that immediately feel more upscale than the outgoing model. Soft touch surfaces replace much of the hard plastic, while available quilted leather seats give it a luxury vibe usually reserved for pricier badges. Families will appreciate the third row improvements. There's more legroom, easier full-flat operation, and USB-C ports in just the right spots. And then there's the centerpiece, a massive infotainment screen paired with fully digital driver display. Nissan's new software runs smoother, responds quicker, and finally feels like it can compete with the polished systems from Ford and GM. But of course, looks and screens aren't everything. Performance is where the Armada must really prove itself. Under the hood, Nissan has swapped in a more refined V6 engine, replacing the old V8. On paper, it makes slightly less raw horsepower, but it delivers better fuel economy and smoother acceleration. Around town, it feels surprisingly light for a vehicle this size, and on the highway, the engine hums quietly while still packing enough muscle to tow over 8,000 pounds. That's a clear signal to adventure seekers who want to bring boats, trailers, or campers along for the ride. Still, not everything is perfect. While handling has improved thanks to updated suspension tuning, the Armada doesn't quite match the sharper road manners of the Tahoe. Steering can feel a touch heavy at low speeds, and parking in tight city spots remains a challenge. Yet, Nissan counters one of the most advanced safety suites in its class: standard adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, and a clever round-view camera system that makes maneuvering far less stressful. What really stands out, though, is the Armada's sense of quiet confidence. Whether it's a hushed cabin during highway drives, the comfort on bumpy roads, or the commanding view from the driver's seat, this SUV feels built to deliver peace of mind. It's clear Nissan wants to appeal not just to longtime Armada fans, but also to families who may have been eyeing Ford or Chevy, but are willing to be surprised. And here's the twist. You might expect all of this to push the price into luxury SUV territory. But Nissan has kept its pricing strategy aggressive, aiming to undercut rivals while still loading the Armada with features. In just a moment, we'll dive into the highlights and drawbacks that could make or break your decision. And trust me, there are a few surprises waiting. And here's where the 2025 Nissan Armada really shows its hand. Out on the open road, the upgrades we've been talking about suddenly come alive. Press the accelerator, and while the new V6 doesn't roar like the old V8, it delivers a surprisingly strong surge of power. Smooth, refined, and far more fuel-conscious than before. On winding roads, the Armada feels more planted than you'd expect for a three-road giant. The suspension tuning has finally hit a sweet spot. It soaks up bumps with ease, yet keeps body roll controlled enough that passengers don't feel like they're swaying in a boat. But the real surprise comes when you push it into a highway overtake. The downshift is immediate, acceleration is confident, and the cabin remains eerily quiet. For families used to the Tahoe's bulk or the Expedition's brute force, this calm but capable response is an unexpected twist. It feels less like a compromise and more like a recalibration of what a full-size SUV should be. Yet, there are cracks in the armor. The steering, while improved, still feels heavier than rivals in tight city corners. Parking lots will remind you that this is a beast of a vehicle. And while Nissan's interior tech finally feels modern, it still trails for its slickest setups by just a hair. So, does the Armada finally escape the shadow of its competitors? In real-world driving, it absolutely narrows the gap, and in some ways, even leaps ahead. The blend of comfort, towing confidence, and surprisingly polished road manners makes this the most complete Armada yet. But the big question remains, when you factor in price, features, and those last few drawbacks, is it truly the smarter buy over a Tahoe or Expedition? That's where the verdict gets interesting. So, where does that leave us with the 2025 Nissan Armada? After putting it through its paces, one thing is clear. This is not the same Armada we've known before. Nissan has redefined it into a more refined, comfortable, and family-focused SUV that finally feels competitive in a crowded American market. The strengths are undeniable. A bolder design that commands attention, a smoother and more efficient V6 that balances power with practicality, a cabin that now feels genuinely premium, and a pricing strategy that undercuts rivals without skimping on must-have features. Add in its towing capability and advanced safety suite, and you got a package built for families who want space, confidence, and long-haul comfort. But we can't ignore the trade-offs. The steering still feels heavier than some rivals. Parking this beast in tight city spots will test your patience, and while tech is improved, it doesn't quite leapfrog Ford or GM's most polished systems. If you want the sportiest drive or the slickest tech, the Tahoe or Expedition may still edge ahead. So, who should consider the Armada? If you're a family that values comfort over corner carving, needs serious towing ability without jumping into the luxury price bracket, and want a fresh alternative to the usual suspects, the 2025 Armada is worth a long, hard look. For buyers chasing trend-setting tech or nimble urban maneuverability, you may want to keep shopping. In the bigger picture, this launch signals that Nissan is serious about fighting for relevance in America's full-size SUV space. And if this is a glimpse of where the brand is headed, the next few years could get very interesting. But what do you think? Does the 2025 Armada finally deserve a spot at the top of your shortlist, or do Chevy and Ford still hold the crown? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to like this video, share your opinion, and subscribe for more in-depth car reviews and comparisons.